Hey RJ, and welcome back to Building a Computer. I'm going to be installing the standoffs onto the case here, so that way there's space between the case and motherboard. And let's go ahead and get started. Hey RJ, just got back from the store. There were a couple issues that I didn't realize. I had bought the wrong memory. This is the cool one, looks really cool, but it is DDR3, not DDR4. So while I was trying to put the screws on for the motherboard, like I had mentioned in a previous video, I noticed, hey, let me see if all these other things fit. So did another shopping trip, so I got you the right 16 gigabyte RAM. It's blue, hope that's not an issue. It's the most reasonably affordable one I could find, and it should fit. And there is a return policy, so if they don't fit, then it's a nice blue color. I don't know if you can see that too well. Very nice. So you can go ahead and put these in. So when putting in the RAM, you got to make sure that the notch in the middle, oh, other way, there we go. The notch in the middle lines up. See that in the middle? So if you were to replace RAM, buy new RAM, make sure it's the same speed, same type. This is a Patriot DDR4, and it's just going to snap in without an issue. Hopefully. So a little bit of force you got to put on there, and then these things snap into place. They are the connectors here, so you can take them out and put them back in. Very easy. Let me get this shot lined up again. Okay, as you can see, it's kind of hard to see my face. Small room, living room. You've seen it before. So put the RAM on there, so I don't have to try to squeeze the RAM in after I get the motherboard in there. So I'm going to try to get the little bit more difficult reaching in parts out of the way before I go ahead and throw the switch on this thing. So we're going to keep them spaced 1 and 3. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've found out that you keep them spaced, works better. They are dual channel, they're not quad channel, nothing too fancy, but it has plenty of power. 16 gigs is more than you'll ever need. If you do video editing, games, streaming, movies, more than enough RAM, random access memory, than you'll need. So I also started playing with this, the solid state drive, M.2 Samsung 850 Evo M.2, top of the line, fastest thing you can buy for your hard drive. That's where I'm going to be putting your operating system, Windows 7. If you want to upgrade to 10, it's easy. You click a button and it'll walk you through the installation. I can see that my head is cut off through most of this video, but the important stuff is the gear. Okay, the computer. So cleaning this up a little bit, I also opened up the i5 box to take a look at the processor, hoping there was a heat sink for the processor. Heat sink basically just pulls heat away from the computer, and I ended up going and getting a heat sink because one should have came with a box, but it didn't. So I got this nice fancy one from Fry's. You remember going to Fry's? This is the Enermax ETS T40 Fit CPU cooler. So we're gonna find out if this fits. It should fit. And it should fit the new Intel new Intel 6th Gen CPU, which is what you have. The newest generation of processors. You're not going to need an i7. i5 should be plenty, unless you're doing some really heavy processing, heavy computing, which for your purposes, you're probably not going to be using that much power for your games and videos and everything. So we got the RAM all tucked in nice. As you can see, Patriot, big old P, like that. And then it is all set up, so that was very easy. The RAM is probably the easiest one to do. And then we're going to get into the next step, which is going to be, let's put the solid state in there, because I just want to get that knocked out of the way. So it's the Samsung Evo, like I was saying, and it's not going to be using this. I actually just picked up a small tool set. If this looks familiar, I bought it before, I lost a whole bunch of pieces, and bought it again. It's very nice, easy, inexpensive, and it does what I need it to. So let's just open that up real quick. The solid state is a new setup here. If you could see, the spot right here is where it goes in, and then there's a small bolt, screw right here that you connect it to. Okay, looking at full battery here, just had a brief delay, but let's put that in and we can go ahead and get started with the rest of this stuff. Okay, and Samsung Evo, very pen shaped, very nice. I like these. It's easy to just screw, very hand friendly. And find the right bit to screw this in. Very small screws, very small screwdrivers. You want to find a screwdriver big enough that your hand is comfortable using. So go ahead and unscrew that. It unscrewed more than I anticipated. It's just to keep it in place so it's not just dangling there. Yeah, I'll show you what I mean here in a second. So it's got an itty bitty screw that's going to hold this very small chip, memory chip, in place. So without further ado, be very careful if you ever have to replace this. So please pardon my hand shakiness. So we're going to get that in, lined up. Okay, so having a little bit of difficulty making sure that this is lined up and I don't put too much pressure on it. Let's try flipping it over. Maybe I'm at the wrong angle here. And I was. First time putting one of these in, so bear with me. So as you can see, it's got that spring to it. So I find this itty bitty other screw, which I can barely see on the camera, which decides to fall off anyways. Magnetic, beautiful thing. And just a couple couple threads, and it's on. Perfect. Okay, so that's your top of the line hard drive. Love it. Okay, so next I'm going to be attempting to put this CPU with the thermal paste onto the motherboard. So let me get the anesthetic wrist strap like you saw earlier. So there's no static discharge, no electrostatic discharge that may cause any unintentional damage to the CPU. If you can hear the background noise, they are doing construction outside. The Super Duty CPU cooler. So the CPU goes right there on the motherboard, and it is going to cool it a lot. So it's got a big fan. It says it's ultra quiet. And okay, first step is going to be releasing this and then opening it. So this is the LGA 1151 socket CPU, and it's not coming off as easily as I anticipated. Just plastic. Okay, there we go. And there we are. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get to the next step and putting the CPU in. So the CPU is going to go in, and those teeth right there are just going to let it set in and then put enough pressure on it, and then should be good to go. Install the EnerMax CPU cooler heatsink and should be good to go. Alright.